Have you ever wondered why Big Mama's barbecue always tastes better than yours? She's doing some things that are so clever, so specific, and so deeply rooted in Black Southern cooking tradition that most people will never figure them out just by watching. Today, we are counting down all 31 of her secrets, and by the time we are done, your cookout game will never be the same. Number 31, the mustard-based secret. Before you put a single spice on that meat, rub it down with plain yellow mustard first. Not Dijon, not honey mustard, plain old yellow mustard from the dollar store. Black grandmas have been doing this forever, and here is why it works. The mustard acts as a binder that holds all your dry rub spices in place so nothing falls off into the fire. But here's the beautiful part. You cannot taste the mustard at all once everything cooks. The vinegar in the mustard also begins a light tenderizing process on the surface of the meat before it ever touches heat. Coat your ribs, your chicken, your pork shoulder, whatever you're cooking, and then apply your seasoning right on top of that mustard layer. Number 30, the church seasoning blend. Black Grandma does not buy premixed barbecue rubs. She makes her own and she keeps the recipe close. Here is the base formula that has been proven across generations. Combine garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, black pepper, cayenne, a little celery salt, and just a pinch of sugar. The sugar is doing something very specific here. When heat hits that sugar, it caramelizes and creates a beautiful dark bark on the outside of the meat. That bark is flavor, that bark is texture, that bark is what people keep going back for seconds over. Mix this blend ahead of time and keep it in a mason jar. That mason jar sitting on Grandma's counter is not decorative, it is essential. Number 29, the overnight rest method. Once you have seasoned your meat, do not cook it right away. Wrap it tight and put it in the refrigerator overnight. This is patience working as a cooking technique. When seasoning sits on meat for 8 to 12 hours, the salt in your blend begins drawing out moisture from the surface. Then that moisture reabsorbs back into the meat, carrying the flavor compounds deep into the muscle fibers. Your seasoning stops being something sitting on top of the meat and becomes part of the meat itself. This is why Grandma always started her barbecue prep on Friday night for a Saturday cookout. She understood that time is an ingredient. Number 28, the vinegar spray trick. Fill a small spray bottle with apple cider vinegar and spray your meat lightly every 45 minutes while it cooks. This is a trick that keeps the bark from getting too hard and keeps the outside of the meat moist without washing away your seasoning. Apple cider vinegar also has a mild acidity that continues breaking down tough muscle fibers throughout the cooking process. The result is meat that stays tender on the outside while developing incredible color and crust. This spray bottle technique is used so casually in Black Southern cooking that it barely gets mentioned, but take it away and people will notice the difference immediately. Number 27, the bread slice steam hack. Place a slice of plain white bread in the bottom of your foil pan when wrapping ribs or brisket to finish cooking. As the meat steams inside that foil, the bread absorbs any excess rendered fat and released juices, then slowly releases moisture back upward, creating a natural steam chamber. The bread acts like a sponge that regulates moisture throughout the final cooking phase. Your meat will never come out dry using this method. Grandma used what she had, and bread was always in the house, and it turns out bread is genuinely one of the most functional tools in the barbecue kitchen. Number 26, the collard green wrap method. Large collard green leaves can be used to wrap smaller pieces of meat or fish when cooking over indirect heat. The leaves protect the meat from direct flame while adding an earthy, slightly smoky flavor that cannot be replicated with foil. This is a West African cooking technique that survived the Middle Passage and shows up in Southern Black cooking in various forms. Wet the collard leaves first, wrap your seasoned fish or smaller cuts of chicken tightly, and place them toward the edge of the grill away from the direct fire. The leaves char on the outside while the inside stays perfectly moist. Number 25, the pickle juice marinade. Do not ever throw away the juice from a jar of pickles. Black grandmas knew this long before any trendy food blog discovered it. Pickle juice is a ready-made marinade that contains vinegar, salt, dill, and various spices already combined in the right proportions. Soak chicken pieces in pickle juice for at least 4 hours before grilling, and you will get the most tender, juicy, subtly tangy chicken you have ever tasted. The acidic brine works into the protein structure of the chicken and physically changes the way the muscle fibers hold moisture during cooking. This is also why Chick-fil-A soaks their chicken in pickle juice, but Black grandmas were doing it decades before that restaurant existed. Number 24. The two-zone fire setup. Every skilled Black pitmaster and every serious grandma who runs her charcoal grill with intention uses a two-zone fire setup. Push all your charcoal to one side of the grill and leave the other side completely empty. This gives you a hot direct cooking zone and a cool indirect cooking zone. Start your chicken or ribs over the hot side to get color and char, then move them to the cool side and close the lid to let them finish cooking low and slow without burning. This method prevents the tragedy of meat that is burnt outside and raw inside, which is the #1 beginner mistake at every cookout. Number 23. The newspaper chimney start. Lighter fluid is for people who did not grow up watching Grandma light a chimney starter. Stack your charcoal in the chimney starter, stuff 2 sheets of newspaper in the bottom chamber, light the newspaper, and walk away. In 20 minutes, your coals will be glowing orange and perfectly ready with zero chemical taste transferring to your meat. Lighter fluid leaves a petroleum aftertaste that gets into your food even if you think the coals burned it off. Real barbecue does not taste like chemistry class. The newspaper chimney method is free, clean, and produces better coal than anything you can buy in a bottle. Number 22. The cast iron grill press. Grandma keeps a cast iron press or sometimes just a heavy cast iron skillet she can set on top of chicken thighs or pressed pork to maximize contact with the grill grate. More contact with the hot surface means more Maillard reaction, which is the chemical process that creates that beautiful brown crust and the complex flavors that come with it. The weight also presses out some of the fat from under the skin, which then drips and creates small flame flares that add smokiness. Use this on chicken quarters, smashed burgers, or pork chops for a result that looks and tastes like it came from a professional kitchen. Number 21. The sweet tea brine. This one will change your perception of what barbecue chicken can be. Make a pot of sweet tea the same way you always would, but use it as a brine. Add salt, a little garlic, and some black pepper to your warm sweet tea. Let it cool, then submerge your whole chicken or chicken pieces for at least 6 hours. The tannins in the tea do something remarkable to the meat. They help retain moisture during high-heat cooking, and the subtle sweetness of the tea caramelizes slightly on the surface, creating flavor complexity that is hard to explain but impossible to forget. This is Southern ingenuity at its highest level. Number 20. The foil tent resting method. When your meat comes off the grill, do not slice it immediately. Tent it loosely with foil and let it rest for at least 15 minutes, longer for larger cuts. This is not optional, this is science. When meat is cooking, the heat pushes all the internal juices toward the center of the cut. If you slice immediately, all that juice runs out onto your cutting board and is gone. When you let the meat rest, the juices redistribute evenly throughout the entire cut, so every slice is juicy from edge to edge. Grandma always told you to leave that meat alone. Turns out she was describing thermodynamics without using the word. Number 19. The smoked wood chip selection. Different woods create dramatically different smoke flavors, and Black grandmas who grew up in the South often had strong opinions about this. Hickory is the classic choice for pork because it creates a bold, rich, almost bacon-like smoke flavor. Pecan wood creates a milder, sweeter smoke that is excellent for chicken and fish. Applewood adds a light, fruity sweetness that works beautifully with pork ribs. To use wood chips on a charcoal grill, soak them in water for 30 minutes first, then sprinkle them directly onto your hot coals. They will smoke rather than burn, and that sustained smoke is what penetrates the meat and creates real barbecue flavor. Number 18. The onion grill cleaner. Before you put anything on the grill, cut a large onion in half. Stick a fork in the flat cut side and rub the cut face of the onion vigorously across the hot grill grates. The natural acids and moisture in the onion clean off any residue from the last cookout while simultaneously seasoning the grates with a light onion flavor. This is completely non-toxic and actually adds to the cooking environment rather than contaminating it the way chemical grill sprays can. After you finish cleaning with the onion half, you can chop it up and throw it in a pot for your side dishes. Nothing gets wasted. Number 17. The Kool-Aid glaze. This is where people always raise an eyebrow but stick with the explanation because this is real. Black Southern barbecue has a long tradition of creating glazes, and it is not unusual to find Grandma stirring a small amount of cherry or grape Kool-Aid powder into her barbecue sauce for the last glaze application. The unsweetened Kool-Aid powder adds intense fruit flavor concentration and color without adding a lot of liquid that would water down your sauce. It creates an incredibly vibrant, slightly sweet glaze with a color that makes the meat look absolutely gorgeous. Apply it in the last 10 minutes of cooking so it caramelizes without burning. Number 16. The Worcestershire injection method. If you have a meat injector or even a large syringe from the pharmacy, mix Worcestershire sauce with a little garlic powder, butter, and chicken stock or beef stock depending on your meat. Heat this mixture just until the butter melts. Let it cool slightly and inject it directly into the thickest parts of large cuts like brisket, pork shoulder, or whole chicken. This delivers seasoning and moisture directly into the interior of the meat where the outside rub cannot reach. Grandma did not always have an injector, but when she did, every single bite of that brisket was seasoned and juicy all the way through, not just on the surface. Number 15. The cornbread drip pan. Place a cast iron skillet with cornbread batter underneath your meat on the grill or smoker. As the fat and drippings fall from the meat above, they drip directly into the cornbread batter while it bakes. What you end up with is cornbread that has been enriched by smoked meat drippings, which makes it the greatest side dish in the history of cookouts. The cornbread absorbs smoke flavor, fat flavor, and all the complex compounds from whatever meat is cooking above it. This is the kind of multitasking genius that came from necessity and ended up being a culinary innovation that fancy chefs try to recreate with expensive techniques. Number 14. The butter compound finish. About 5 minutes before your chicken comes off the grill, drop a small knob of compound butter on top of each piece. Compound butter is just softened butter mixed with garlic, herbs, and whatever seasonings you like. The butter melts over the hot meat and creates a glossy, rich, flavor-packed coating that makes everything look beautiful and taste even better. Black grandmas might not have called it compound butter, but every single one of them had a version of this move. Some used regular butter with garlic and parsley. Some added a dash of hot sauce to their butter. The name changes, but the technique is universal. Number 13. The peach preserve glaze. Southern black cooking has always had a relationship with stone fruits, and the barbecue tradition reflects that. A jar of peach preserves thinned slightly with a splash of apple cider vinegar and a pinch of cayenne makes one of the most incredible barbecue glazes you will ever taste in your life. The natural pectin in the preserves creates a thick, clingy glaze that sticks to meat beautifully. The sugar in the preserves caramelizes under heat and builds a deeply complex, slightly smoky sweetness. The cayenne gives it heat that sneaks up on you after the sweetness fades. Apply this glaze in the final 10 minutes of cooking and watch people ask you for the recipe immediately. Number 12. The aluminum pan smoker hack. If you do not have a proper smoker, Grandma figured out how to create smoke in a basic kettle grill or even a gas grill using aluminum foil pans. Take a small aluminum pan, fill it with your soaked wood chips, cover the top tightly with foil and poke several small holes in the top. Place this directly on your hot coals or on a gas burner set to low. The chips will begin smoldering and releasing smoke through those holes, creating a contained smoke source that functions just like the chip box on a professional smoker. This costs about 50 cents to make and produces real wood smoke flavor. Number 11. The dry brine timing formula. There is a specific timing window that determines whether your dry brine helps or hurts. Apply your salt-based rub either less than 30 minutes before cooking or more than 4 hours before cooking. The reason is that at 30 minutes to 4 hours, the salt has drawn moisture to the surface, but that moisture has not had time to reabsorb. Cooking in that window means your meat steams in its own surface moisture rather than searing properly. Either season and cook quickly or season overnight for best results. This is the kind of precision that separates good barbecue from legendary barbecue. Number 10. The grill basket for small items. Keep a grill basket on hand specifically for shrimp, vegetables, small pieces of fish, and anything else that would fall through the grates. Spray the basket with cooking spray and get it hot before adding your ingredients. This allows smaller items to get direct grill heat and beautiful char marks without being lost to the fire. Black Grandma always had something small cooking alongside the main meat at every cookout, and the grill basket is what made that possible without standing over the grill flipping individual pieces with tongs every 30 seconds. Number 9. The sugarcane skewer technique. For grilled appetizers and kebabs, sugarcane sticks cut into skewer lengths add a subtle sweetness as they heat that infuses the food threaded onto them from the inside out. This is a Caribbean and West African influenced technique that appears in coastal southern black cooking, particularly in areas with historical connections to sugar cultivation. The cane will not burn quickly because of its moisture content and dense fiber structure. Thread marinated shrimp or chicken pieces onto cane sticks, grill normally, and notice how the flavor is different from anything you have had on a metal or wooden skewer. Number 8. The layered rub for bark development. Before your dry rub goes on, coat your pork cuts specifically in a thin layer of lard rather than oil. Lard, which is rendered pork fat, has a higher smoke point than most cooking oils and a natural affinity with pork meat. When it hits high heat, it creates a more cohesive bark that adheres better and has a richer, more traditional flavor profile than anything made with vegetable oil. Black grandmas who grew up in the South often kept lard in the house as a standard cooking fat, and its application in barbecue is one of those uses that gets overlooked now that vegetable oil became dominant in modern kitchens. Number 7. The hot water tenderness test. Grandma tests if her ribs are done with a simple physical check rather than a thermometer alone. Grab the rack of ribs with tongs in the middle and lift. If the rack bends significantly and you can see the surface start to crack slightly, they are done. If the rack stays rigid and flat, they need more time. This method works because properly cooked ribs have had their collagen converted to gelatin throughout the cooking process, and that gelatin gives the meat a flexible, giving quality that shows up clearly in this bend test. A thermometer tells you temperature. This bend test tells you texture. Number 6. The Coca-Cola marinade. This sounds like folk wisdom until you understand the chemistry. Coca-Cola contains phosphoric acid and a significant amount of sugar along with caramel color and complex flavoring compounds. When you use it as a marinade component, typically combined with soy sauce, garlic, and ginger or just used alone on ribs, the phosphoric acid works as a tenderizer, breaking down tough proteins in the meat. The sugar creates caramelization. The caramel flavor compounds add depth. Black grandmothers across the South have marinated everything from short ribs to whole chickens in Coke for generations, and the results consistently produce meat with a complex sweetness and incredible tenderness. Number 5. The covered grill water pan. Place a disposable aluminum pan filled with water, or better yet, water mixed with apple juice or beer, on the side of the grill opposite your coals. This does 3 things simultaneously. It adds moisture to the interior atmosphere of your covered grill, which keeps the outside of your meat from drying out during long cooks. It acts as a heat sink that keeps the temperature in your cool zone more stable and moderate. And if you use apple juice or beer, it contributes aromatic steam that permeates the cooking environment. This single hack transforms a basic charcoal kettle into something that functions closer to a proper offset smoker. Number 4. The brown paper bag rest. For large cuts like brisket or pork shoulder that come off the smoker after a full cook, some grandmothers wrapped finished meat in butcher paper or even clean brown paper grocery bags before resting. This breathable wrap holds heat and moisture better than plastic wrap, but allows some steam to escape, preventing the bark from getting soggy the way a fully sealed foil wrap can. The meat stays hot for up to 2 hours wrapped this way, and the bark stays intact. Some pitmasters call this the Texas crutch, but Black Southern grandmothers were doing it long before barbecue competitions made it mainstream technique. Number 3. The cast iron griddle reverse sear. For thick steaks or chops at the cookout, use the reverse sear method with a cast iron griddle. Cook your steak over indirect low heat on the grill until it reaches about 10 degrees below your target internal temperature. Then move it to a ripping hot cast iron griddle or skillet placed directly over the coals for a final 60 to 90 second sear on each side. This method creates an impossibly even interior doneness with a perfect hard crust on the outside. The steak cooks from the inside out first and then gets a hard exterior sear at the end. The result is perfection from edge to edge with no gray band of overcooked meat under the crust. Number 2. Season everything, including the grill. Before you cook anything, once your grill grates are hot, take a folded paper towel soaked in oil and using long tongs, wipe the grates down with the oil. This does 3 things. It prevents sticking, which means you are not leaving half your chicken skin on the grate when you flip. It adds a light seasoned coating from previous cooks that builds up over time, creating what is essentially a flavor patina on your grates. And it tells you your grill is hot enough because if the oil smokes immediately on contact, the temperature is right. Black Grandma did not pull that chicken off the grill in pieces because she seasoned the grate before she started. Number 1. The Grandma Taste and Adjust method. This is the most important barbecue technique that exists, and it cannot be bottled or sold in a kit. Before anything goes on the grill, Grandma tastes the marinade. She tastes the rub seasoning. She tastes the sauce at every stage of development. She adjusts constantly, not by recipe, not by measuring spoon, but by palate. She knows when a sauce needs more acid, when a rub needs more heat, when a brine needs more sweetness. This intuitive, continuous tasting and adjusting process is the actual secret behind food that makes people close their eyes when they take a bite. Every single hack on this list works better when it is guided by this fundamental principle. You can have every tool, every ingredient, and every technique, but without the willingness to taste, adjust, and taste again, you are just following instructions. Grandma was never just following instructions. She was cooking with intention, with knowledge built over decades, and with a love for the people sitting at that table that showed up in every single bite. So the next time you fire up that grill, remember where these tricks came from. Remember the grandmothers who figured them out. Season that grate, spray that vinegar, let that meat rest, and make something worth remembering.